If you don't know what a pedal tone is, probably just didn't know what it was called. A pedal is when a note or notes are sustained over many chords. A pedal can be in the bass, in the soprano, in your car. It can occur in any voice. But today we are going to focus on pedals of the bass because those have the biggest impact on the harmony. We'll be dividing it up into 3 levels: diatonic, borrowed, and the do whatever you want level, which comes with a huge asterisk. Asterisks? We'll go with asterisk because there are risks involved. Level 1, diatonic chords. This is when all the chords are from one key. That's what diatonic means. Most common choices for bass note pedals are the roots and fifths of the key. Originally, it was because composers wanted to prolong these chords, but just holding or repeating the same chord for a long period of time obviously gets boring really fast. So they figured out that if you could hold a bass note while changing chords above it, you could still get the feeling of being on that initial chord of the bass note, but it's a lot more interesting to listen to. Have you ever heard one of those classical pieces that seems to get to the end and then just keeps going? Well, that's probably a tonic pedal, or also a tonic prolongation. This is kind of just to milk the ending of the song. You've come to the final resolution of your chord, but you don't really want the song to end. And it also serves as signaling to the listener that this is, in fact, the end. So the opposite scenario of that would be when you want to delay the resolution to the tonic. And usually the best choice for this is pedals on the fifth. So the fifth, being the dominant chord of the key, is the one that has the most tension and that most clearly outlines what the tonic of the key is. In tonal music, most people can subconsciously recognize that the 5 chord is usually the one that sets up the resolution back to the home key, and that usually these chords are used in a moment of tension before that resolution. So if you want to prolong that tension, a good choice is to hang out on the 5th degree of your scale and use it as a pedal tone. This is called dominant prolongation. So what do you call a dominant prolongation followed by a tonic prolongation? Winning. Pedal tones with diatonic chords are pretty simple. If you know what key you're in and you know all the chords that are found within that key, you can pretty much use any of those chords, put them on top of a pedal, and they'll probably sound good. But if you're really unsure, as a starting point, you can try chord progressions going down in thirds, going up in fourths, stepwise. You can even use basic diatonic chord progressions that you already know, but play them over a pedal and those will also sound good. Level 2 is modal borrowing. If you saw my last video, then you'll know that modal borrowing is when you use chords from a parallel mode. So let's say you're in C major. If you borrow chords from C minor, that's called modal borrowing. These non-diatonic chords and the chromatic notes that are found in those chords really come with a sense of gravity. They're just begging to be resolved. Stringing together many of these borrowed chords is a great way of creating and sustaining tension. So this technique is really useful on dominant chords for that reason. That tension is now amplified even more. Level 3, non-diatonic chords with a huge asterisk. So this one is super hard. It should really only be used by experienced professionals. And the reason it is so hard is because you can basically do anything. Yep, anything you want. Yeah, just try it. Anything. It'll sound fine. Telling you you can do whatever you want is really not that helpful. So here are a few things that you can think about to help get you started. You can tonicize chords. You can use the technique of planing, which is taking a specific type of chord and transposing that in parallel motion. You can create stacks of similar intervals, like stacks of fifths or fourths, and transpose that. Or you can also just do whatever you want. Even though you may not know what the chord is, and it may not even be a chord, your ear can help make sense of those shifting harmonies when it's above a bass pedal. A huge asterisk that comes with this level is this. Even though I told you you can do whatever you want, that doesn't mean to do whatever. Listeners have a pretty good BS radar, whether they're trained musicians or not. So don't just pick notes or chords randomly. Like with anything in music, make sure that you're really hearing what you're doing. What was intended to be a ratcheting up or a prolonging of tension or a prolonging of a resolution can easily turn into, well, a turnoff. So if you had no idea what I was talking about in level 2, then you'll definitely want to check out this video to get a crash course on modal borrowing.